I'm Richard, that's my friend Tom, this is Terrifying Tom, and this week we are kicking it off with the 2004 film Dawn of the Dead. Okay, so just a quick little summary about why we're doing this kind of idea for a podcast. So this idea came to me because my friend Tom, say hello Tom.
Hello Tom.
We have very different opinions when it comes to horror films, for instance. I find it very rare that there's a horror film that actually scares me in any way whatsoever. And I've found that my friend Tom tends to get scared quite a lot by horror films, in our estimation. Would you say that that's fair, Tom?
Yes.
So what do you think about... What kind of runs through your head when you know that you're going to be watching a horror film?
I don't know, it's weird when you think, like, I get scared by horror movies quite a lot. Like, why would I watch them in the first place? I think it's just the adrenaline of it, and I like the dark themes that horror movies have. You know, you see stuff that you don't usually see, hopefully that you don't want to see in the real world, if that makes any sense. And, you know, depends on the film. There's a lot of horror movies that have, you know, interesting characters or whatever, you know, or an interesting premise, you know, like Saw, for example. Interesting premise. I mean, I know it's not exactly a horror movie, but, well, Seven is kind of a horror/thriller with an interesting premise.
So, talk me through your, like, emotional states when you know you're going to be watching a horror film.
I think mainly, just to circle back here, I never watched horror movies when I was a kid, so you know, as opposed to, I don't know if you did or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw Psycho when I was 6.
Yeah, I never saw anything that early, you know, that scary that early. Like, I thought Terminator was too scary to watch, and I can't remember how old I was then, 10, 11, something like that. And I thought, oh, that was too scary. That was just Terminator. So, yeah, it's just something, my parents are not into it.
I was going to say, was it you who told me that your parents thought that Jurassic Park was going to be too scary for you? It was you, yeah.
Yeah, they went to a screening to make sure that it was suitable enough for me. How old was I? 7 or 8?
Would have been 8, because I was
3.
I was 8.
So, yeah, at that point, that was probably the scariest thing I'd ever seen. Still enjoyed it. It didn't give me nightmares, anything like that. But watching it in the cinema, you know, there was bits of it where I thought, oh, that's a bit scary. But, you know, I love dinosaurs. So, I don't think, you know, I didn't really see, like, the classic horror movies until probably when I was coming to the end of school, I'd probably say 14, 15, 16. You know, so I never really had, like, a childhood of growing up with these characters or whatever else. So, you know, that's probably why that I'm scared of horror movies in general.
How do you feel when you know there's going to be a horror movie coming on? Do you get, like, tense in your gut? Do you get a bit anxious, or? Not
really. I mean, I think when most horror movies start, you have that. It depends how it opens up, really, doesn't it? If it has like a really creepy opening, like Insidious, for example, the opening of that is really creepy. Like the way they do the titles and everything, they frame everything. You go into every movie, you know, thinking, "Oh, I'll be fine, no problem, figure out with this one." But it usually isn't the case, you know, more often than not. Especially if I'm watching it on my own.
So the reason I wanted to obviously go into this podcast, like I said, is because it's kind of like it has a bit of a joint journey for us, really. So I went through a phase, like I said, I think I watched horror films from a really young age. Like, I think the only ones that my parents wouldn't let me watch, good or bad parenting, I'm not sure, are the really hardcore, gory slasher films. You know, I think I told you I've never seen Hellraiser. To this day, I haven't seen Hellraiser. Okay. Because my dad thought that was the scariest film that has ever been put onto film ever.
I didn't see that one until I was at university.
Still haven't seen it to this day. Not through fear, just haven't got around to it, really, you know?
It's not really on TV much.
No, it's not really. I mean, maybe it'll be like late night on Bravo or something. I don't know. But that was the one my dad was always like, oh, that's he honestly thinks that's the scariest film ever put to celluloid.
No.
That's his opinion. But so the gory ones my parents kind of kept me away from. And then as I grew up, I kind of became a bit of a pansy again. Like, I kind of was scared of the horror films and everything like that. I think it's because I am one of the easiest people in the world to make jump. Yeah, it's just, I could know you are there trying to make me jump, and you will still succeed in making me jump. I'm one of those people. So when I was younger, I think I equated that feeling to fear and terror, you know? So I kind of grew out of horror films and I didn't want to watch them, and I was like, no. I was like hands behind eyes and, you know, hugging the cushion, you know, all the classic cliches and stuff like that. But then as I grew up and I grew out of that phase, and I realized that that's not real fear. It's momentary. It's fleeting. It's really not very deep and emotional. I started to see it as kind of cheap. It's a very cheap way of making you...
I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, at the end of the day, it is fictional. And none of it's real. This is based on a true story.
I get that, but there are certain universal things that I think all people would find genuinely fearful, deep down, terrified, scared. And I don't think that equates to a sharp shock on a violin and someone just going, hey, how are you? Like that, you know. That isn't real fear.
Bathroom mirror closing.
Yeah. And you think there's going to be something behind them. There's going to be something behind them. There's going to be something behind them. You know, or you know, that kind of thing. It's the innate deep terror that I think is real fear. And the jump scare is cheap and it's not very long lasting, and because it's so easy to make me jump, you know, like I don't find it particularly enthralling. So I've gone through a bit of a roller coaster with horror films, and I'm now at the point now where horror films do not scare me in the least, ever. Like, I cannot remember the last time an actual film itself scared me. The last time I can remember being genuinely scared was after I watched Paranormal Activity. And as I've told you before, that wasn't the film that scared me. It's the fact that it was the first time I'd lived on my own, without anyone else around, in my own house, alone. And then at night, your brain kind of runs away with you a little bit. So the film didn't really ever scare me. So the purpose of this podcast is twofold. So first of all, it's entertaining to see if you get really scared by something or not, because I find that funny. And second of all, it's a journey to try and see if I can find a horror film that scares me again, you know, so that maybe there's somewhere that we can come together on common ground and we can find that place. I have a feeling that it's going to be quite a while if we ever find anything like that.
Maybe.
That's kind of the basic premise of this show, is we're going to watch horror films. We're going to see how scared we can make Tom, and we're going to hope that I can actually find something that keeps me up late at night. Having said that, the film we're discussing this week, I don't think is that film.
Definitely not.
No. So, as I said, we are discussing the 2004 film Dawn of the Dead. This is rated number 50 on the list of all-time top horror films scored by the users of IMDb as of June 2022.
How?
So first question, and then I'll go for it. Would you even consider this a horror film?
Oh, I mean, it's got zombies in it, hasn't it?
But as we said before, with the killers, does that make a horror film? I mean, Shaun of the Dead's got zombies in it. Is that a horror film?
Good point, yeah, it's comedy.
Warm Bodies has got zombies in it. Is that a horror film?
I mean, I think Dawn of the Dead is obviously supposed to be a horror movie. There are scenes in it which are portrayed as horror-based. I mean, I'm sure people found it scary. I mean, I don't know, for a zombie movie, there's not a lot of shocks, people jumping out at people or anything like that. We'll get
to what you have to say about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But just before we do, so yeah, Dawn of the Dead is directed by Zack Snyder and screenplay by James Gunn, who have obviously gone on to do huge things in cinema. It stars Sarah Polley. I'm assuming that's Blonde Girl 1.
Yeah, Blonde Girl.
Ving Rhames.
Anna was her name.
No, it was Andy.
Oh, was it Andy? Or was it Annabelle? I don't know.
It stars Sarah Polley, Ving Rhames, Mekhi Phifer, and Jake Weber.
Who?
Exactly. We'll get to that as well. So the premise of the film: a nurse, a policeman, a young married couple, a salesman, and assorted survivors of a worldwide plague take refuge in a shopping mall. So that is the basic premise. Now, I would also like to point out that in that premise, it also doesn't say a specific word, which it doesn't say throughout the whole film.
Doesn't see zombies.
Does not say zombie. Not once in this whole film. We discussed this whilst we were actually watching the film, that these people apparently never seen a zombie film in their entire lives. How many times were you calling out, go, kill them, shoot them now?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, all right. If you're going in with the premise that they don't know what zombies are, they never even heard of them, then okay, I get it. But, we've lived in a world now where zombies have been a thing for decades.
Some would say centuries.
Maybe centuries. I don't know. The first horror movie with zombies in it I can think of is Night of the Living Dead. That's like 68. That was directed by George Romero, who directed Dawn of the Dead, the original one. So, yeah, you say centuries with zombies?
Well, the first actual cases of recorded cases of zombies came from the Caribbean in the 18th century, might even be the 17th century, I'm not sure. But yeah, there was definitely discussions of it. This is where the whole thing came from. So it's kind of like a voodoo-y kind of thing, where people believe that dead bodies can be brought back to life. And
like Jesus.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, there you go. Over 2,000 years. There you go, yeah. But this is actually where they use the term zombie as well, which is a Creole word. And so you learn something in this podcast as well. But there are actually recorded cases of zombie plagues as well in West Africa. There's never actually been any evidence that has turned up for this.
Funny.
But having said that, there are credible doctors that have actually witnessed it and recorded the outbreak of this plague and stuff like that, which is basically where our idea of zombies comes from today. So these people know nothing about history, and in all that time there hasn't been one book, film, TV show, comic, radio play, anything that has used the word zombie apparently in this film. So that's what I find quite interesting about this film initially. So it feels more kind of like a buddy film. I don't ever really feel they're in danger in this film.
Who's they?
The crew of people that she meets. Right. So the policeman, the salesman, and the married couple. Yeah, I don't ever really feel like there's any kind of danger. I don't know. We set the scene of them in the shopping centre, obviously, and the world is ending, and all these zombies are coming, and there's no help coming, and so on and so forth. But I don't know. There's never any tension.
I don't think there is.
Okay, go on then.
But I don't think the film is exciting. If that makes any sense.
I get that, but where would you say the tension is then?
I mean, there's always tension when they're trying to keep the zombies out, isn't there?
I don't know, it's just generic. I mean, that's obviously what you have to do, right?
I would say that maybe that's because you don't really feel that strongly for the characters in it. Because you're not really given much of a backstory to them or anything like that.
No, but again, this is, when we were watching it, I discussed it with you, that this is a very Zack Snyder kind of thing. He doesn't really do character building.
Zero character building, basically, in this whole movie, pretty much.
I mean, I can't really think of any of these films where he goes really in depth into like a character and you find out really truly who that person is. I think this is the problem with Justice League as well, isn't it? Just trying to cram too many people into one film, you know? I get that you need to have a group of survivors, otherwise, it could get very boring. But I honestly think that this film would work better with a smaller ensemble of people. Ensemble. Yeah, because then you could explore them a little bit deeper. I mean, what's the deepest part of character development we get is probably when generic guy 1 talks about, like, I was really good at being a father.
Very good at being a dad. So we know who's a dad.
And his kid's probably dead.
Probably.
Yeah, I just don't find it particularly tense at any point during this whole film. I mean, I don't remember any sense of foreboding or tension. There was the classic build-up of, the crescendo building until the inevitable jump scare comes. But again, yeah, it was just...
I mean, there's a lot of light-hearted stuff in this film, like the relationship between Ving Rhames and the guy on the building, the guy holding up the sign.
Andy,
yeah. And then you got like a jazz singer singing Down with the Sickness by Disturbed like halfway through the film. Richard Cheese, yes, that's right. And it's like, it's not really building up the dread and the horror, is it? It's like tongue in cheek, which is fine, but like Shaun of the Dead, for example. But I just don't think this works.
But yeah, because Shaun of the Dead is supposed to be a comedy. It's a parody of a horror film, of a horror genre. So it's okay to have aspects of comedy in there, and it's okay to have aspects of comedy, comic relief in a horror film, to break those moments of tension. But if you're not really building tension and you then insert these comedic aspects into it, it doesn't really give you an underlying feeling of dread and existential horror, and it just feels more like,
I mean, I don't know how successful this movie was.
We'll get to that later on, but yeah. So, I mean, I'll bring it up now, considering that you asked. It cost $26 million to make, and it made over $100 million worldwide. So you would say that's a pretty
good profit,
pretty good success.
Surprising, really.
It's not deemed a failure.
I mean, most horror movies do make profits anyway. They're usually quite cheap to make. But from my personal point of view, as I said before, this came out the same year Shaun of the Dead did. So once you've seen that, like, well, why would you be interested in this? I'm
assuming that Shaun of the Dead came out because of this film. Like,
I don't know, it came out before or after. What, I don't know.
But that's why I was saying that it came out as the parody. This coming out, obviously. So I mean, it hasn't hurt Zack Snyder's career, obviously.
No, I don't think it's a terrible movie.
I don't think it's terrible. No. But I just think it's very
bland and generic and forgettable.
It's consumable.
Yeah,
is what that's how I say it. Like, you can watch it and you can be like, yeah, it was all right. Killed an hour and a half, 2 hours. But then you'll forget it when you go to bed that night, and you'll never think about it again until it's on TV one day in a few years, and you'll just be like, oh, I remember that film. Yeah, it's not really, it doesn't leave a big impression in the mind.
I find the look of the film ugly as well, but it's very 2000s, very ugly looking CGI and whatever else.
But what I was saying to you as well that I found quite interesting was that how bright it was. For a horror film, it's very bright, and a lot of stuff takes place during the day. And I'm guessing that that's because it's called Dawn of the Dead. I was saying this to you, that, it's kind of like a double meaning. We were talking about this, that it's dawn as in the beginning of something, but it's also, dawn as in it's always daytime. And the colours are always bright. I mean, even when they make their daring escape towards the end of the film, they go over to the Andy's gun shop, and it's night, and then they get back through the sewers after all of the trouble that's going on, and Catman dies in the
Oh yeah, Catman, yeah.
He dies in the sewers, and then they're being chased by the zombies, so they have to make their escape in those vans. All of a sudden, it's dawn again. Like, the sun's rising, and the sun, you would have thought a moment like that of, like, tension, and they're going to be surrounded by them and everything like that, you'd keep it at night. But, yeah, I think he took the term dawn very literally in this film.
Maybe. I'm not sure if that was meant to happen, but, I mean, most films like this, you want to shoot at night, don't you?
I mean, that's where people's fears come in, right? People aren't scared of seeing ghosts during the day.
Plus, it's probably cheaper, right?
What, to film at night?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Lighting will probably cost more, wouldn't it?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't direct films, really.
Yeah, let us know if you know if it's more expensive to shoot during the day or night. I'm guessing it's more expensive to shoot during the day, like on location, because you got to shut roads and things like that, haven't you? But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, it just feels like even the moment of like the tension and the will they make it? Will they get away? Is kind of diluted by the fact that it happens during the day. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion of it. I think he took the term dawn very literally. And yeah, it's just lots of blue tones and things like that I found as well. So yeah, let's talk about some scenes that you found particularly memorable for one reason or another.
Okay, from this movie.
We've already said it's not a very memorable film, but are there any specifically that stand out in your mind?
There's one in particular that stands out, is the baby stuff.
Mm-hmm. Zombie baby.
It's zombie baby, yeah. I mean, I think that bit is quite good in terms of the creepy atmosphere it sets there. I think that's done
because it's dark and it's oppressive and it's foreboding,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you can kind of see that Mekhi Phifer's character is losing his mind a little bit, which is quite good.
Actually, okay, there's another part of character development, okay, because they did establish earlier on that he sees this baby as his life's purpose and his one goal in life.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, he says it earlier on in the film to Ving Rhames.
Okay, so
I suppose that's a little bit of character development there. So as it's slipping away from him, obviously, yeah, he starts circling the drain a little bit.
I would say he's quite easily acceptable that his wife is becoming a zombie. But I would have liked to see a bit more struggle with that, maybe. Kind of just happens and he's tied her to the bed and, you know, he's going a bit mental. But the whole premise is quite interesting. I think, you know, obviously you know what you're going to get when you see the stomach and the stomach moving and you know what's going to happen. You're setting up for a zombie baby. And, yeah, it's quite an interesting scene when they send the old lady downstairs to check on him. And you think, oh, she's just fodder. She's going to die by this zombie baby or zombie, whatever. Which just didn't turn out to be true at all. I mean, she did die.
How did she die, though?
She got shot.
In a zombie film?
Yeah, by Mekhi Phifer. I said because she shot the zombie woman in the head, didn't she?
She shot his wife, who was a zombie, yeah.
His wife, and he's like, how could you do this to my family? Or something to that. Which I thought, well, that's quite good. That's some interesting bit of this film. And he shot her dead, didn't he? And then she shoot him dead as well?
Yeah, they shot each other, didn't they? Yeah.
So that was quite interesting. And then obviously you have the big reveal of the zombie baby. There's a nice little bit of tension before that when they're about to reveal it, which quickly goes away when they reveal it. But you kind of know what's coming. It's going to be a dreadful looking CGI baby.
I don't even know if it was CGI, was it? I think it might have been practical effects.
Terrible, whatever.
It didn't look great, but I think it was practical effects. Like a animatronic.
Sure, but it didn't look good. So that whole bit was quite good. I think that's probably the most horror-themed part of the movie, I would say.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. It's dark, it's tense, it's foreboding, it has visual horror in the aspect of this woman's dead, but she's still giving birth to a baby.
And there's the anticipation.
And then, yeah, because, what's going to happen? What is the baby going to go, like, bite Mekhi Phifer and then he's going to go on, like, a killing spree rampage or something like that? Or, yeah, it's just, there's anticipation there. But I feel the fact that they shoot each other is a little bit of a cop-out. I think that would have been a good way to... I think that would have been a good way to introduce the threat of we need to get out of this shopping centre, which has been our haven for months now, because they're in here with us, and now they outnumber us, kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know? Plus they got a baby. They can throw it at us.
My memory is not great. Do they actually get in the shopping centre?
Yeah, through the sewers after Catman dies.
Yeah, but they're all out of the shopping centre by then, aren't they?
No. They're coming back from Andy's shop with the stupid woman that's gone to go get the dog. And yeah, they're coming back through the sewers and the zombies are following them through the sewers and then they come up into the service area. So they do get into the shopping centre that way, which obviously is, you know, there's more of them now because they're flooding in now, so there's more of them. But it just it doesn't feel organic to me.
It feels like a computer game a lot of the time as well. I don't know if you found that.
Like set pieces.
Yeah, zombies just come flying at people.
Well, that was something you mentioned right at the start, was he's very fast for a zombie.
Oh, yeah. So this is after 28 days later, right?
So they're not the shambling zombies, yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of the seed that zombies can be more than just a slow, lumbering...
Which brings us back to the age-old question. What's more scary? A couple of fast-moving zombies or a horde of slow-moving zombies?
Fast ones. You get away from the horde of slow-moving ones if this is a real world.
When have you ever heard the term of, oh yeah, I ran away from that horde really easily?
I don't know. Well, they're not surrounding you.
That's what I'm saying. That's what a horde is, isn't it, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, okay, so we got 2 or 3 fast-moving zombies versus 2,000 slow-moving zombies.
Right. They're all coming at you in the same direction.
No, they're coming from everywhere, aren't they?
Well, but if there's no escape, then yeah, okay.
Well, that's the age-old question, isn't it? Which is scarier? Which would you rather face? You know, because the fast-moving ones will be on you really quickly, yeah. But you've got more chance of taking 3 of them out, whereas the slow-moving ones is like, well, you only have a certain amount of ammunition. You'll be able to run away from them more, but you need an opening. That's the thing. They both have their own fears and dangers, don't they? Anyway, I always find the premise of zombies quite ridiculous, really, because, I mean, human beings can't bite particularly hard. So all you need to do is like wear leather and like something that covers your face and neck. Put on some gloves, and then you're pretty safe. You can like walk through them, and they can like gnaw on you.
They're not human beings, they're the zombies.
But they're still human beings that have been turned into zombies. They're not like fucking T-Rexes that have turned into. You know, they're not like all of a sudden got massive jaw strength.
Yeah. This is a movie though.
But the premise still stands. You know, they're still anatomically human beings who have very weak bite strength.
You're thinking way too much into this.
Got to, man. You got to be prepared. This is what I'm saying. How would you prepare for a zombie apocalypse? This is what I was saying during the film. All the stupid shit that they're doing is just based on the fact that they're all idiots and got to do the right thing, and we're in a group of people and blah, 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 which is why they're not prepared for it. You're prepared for it, then you know I'm going to be on my own. So now I don't need to be around all these stupid people.
But as we said, this is the first zombie attack of its kind, so...
Whatever. Okay, so any other scenes that jump out to you?
Not particularly.
Memorable.
Yeah.
Were you scared at any point throughout this film?
Not really, no.
That's a lie. You told me there was one specific
there was
part.
One bit that made me jump, yeah. When they're going down to the parking lot and Ving Rhames just shows up randomly.
So it wasn't even a zombie?
No, it wasn't even a zombie, it's just Ving Rhames showing up behind the other 3 dudes. Like, all of a sudden, where did he come from?
When they were downstairs in the car park, and it's just after the dog showed up, and there was that zombie that crawled along the pipes that didn't have the legs, and then landed on that guy.
So I didn't expect that, but I didn't really find it that...
No, but that's what I thought you were going to say when you said there was one bit that made me jump.
Ah, right, I see. Right.
I didn't even notice you got made jump by Ving Rhames. So, yeah, that's a pretty damning indictment for a horror film. And number 50 on the list, I'd like to point out.
According to what?
IMDb users.
Wow.
So this is user rating, and they've put this at number 50 as a horror film.
Was there any notable movies that were below it that should have been?
I don't recall any, but I didn't go that far down the list.
You sure it wasn't the original 70s version?
No, it was definitely the 2004 version, yeah.
I don't understand how that's rated so high, to be honest. Don't understand at all.
Let's talk about, just to finish off with, the characters then. So there was obviously no character development, we said. You didn't really get invested in anyone in particular in this film, I found.
No, the 2 leads were very generic.
So you weren't like rooting for them at any point?
Oh, God, no.
You didn't want to see them succeed?
I mean, Ving Rhames' character they set up as the cool badass character.
Because he was.
Yeah, I mean, even he, it wasn't really a lot of development in his character or anything like that.
I think the only development, as you said, was between him and Andy, who's a guy that we don't even hear speak until just moments before he dies.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I think that's a pretty good dynamic, though. I like the fact that there's this guy that he's bonding with in a completely different building that he can't talk to, and I don't think he likes the people that he's with.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, the security guys are all jerks, and you got everyone else is bland, and you got the Phil Dunphy, who is particularly likable.
And obviously, like I said to you while we were watching the film, you've got the douchebag who's the only guy that actually thinks things through, but he's classified as a dick.
Yeah, because he was being a dick.
Why?
He's being nasty to them.
Oh, he'd been nasty.
He was being horrible.
Oh.
He was, though.
Why? How?
He's locking them all in a cage.
Okay, you don't know these people. You don't know them at all. Why would it be such a problem to lock them in a cage?
Because they're just trying to seek refuge from the zombies.
Yeah, but I already told you this before, is that you don't know that.
No, but the narrative is that the bag...
Okay, great. So we're the people looking from the outside.
Yeah.
But You know, they're not to know that in that situation, are they? You know, like I said, it's the perfect time for crazy people to go out going nuts. You know, no repercussions. Go wild. You want to rape some people? Rape some people.
I mean, the guy with the beard and Tash. Is that what we're naming him? Or we're naming him bad guy or something?
He was douchebag, wasn't he? Yeah.
So douchebag, he does redeem himself in the end when he actually decides to help people out.
Yeah, a complete 180 flip of character, which I found quite strange. Found that odd. That he was this one that was like, I'm not dying for no one today. You're going to be locked up, and I'm not letting nobody else in this here because. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'll stay here and kill the zombies and shit. And then he has the most stupid death in all of.
Yeah, but I think that death was necessary to complete the face turn.
Yeah, but it was just pointless. How hard is it to write a meaningful death for someone? You know, I mean, you watched that scene twice
I did.
To pick up on what I picked up on. Yeah. The fact that there was no reason for him to stay there whatsoever.
I mean, maybe he thought he couldn't get out of the truck.
No,
the zombies were coming right for him.
No, the zombies were like 200 yards away from him. He had plenty of time.
I don't think he did.
He had loads of time to jump down off of this truck and run away with the rest of them. There was absolutely no reason whatsoever for him to be still in that truck. It's just stupid. So, let's talk about the ending then. So, do you think that they nailed the ending? Do you think he dropped the ball a little bit on this ending? And what do you make of the ambiguity of it?
Well, first of all, it just kind of just ended. Like, they got on the boat and that was it. Like, end of scene. I was like, okay, is that it? Okay, well.
But then it carries on through the credit.
It does carry on through the credits, yeah. But as I said, it's very hard. They get on the boat, and it's very hard to get emotionally attached to these people. You know, they're all generic. Was it 4 people left on the boat?
And the dog.
And the dog. Obviously, the dog's fine.
Can't kill the dog.
No, but you can get emotionally attached to the dog. Even with a little character development, because he's a dog. I know you have a black heart, but you know. Yeah, it's very hard to get. I'm guessing the feeling when they get on the boat and they get away, it's like, oh, they did it. But you've got a generic ginger girl, security guy who's a bit of a pervert. Well, he's not really a bit of a pervert. Well, he kind of is.
He spied on 2 people twice.
Yeah, he did. Generic blonde woman who's like painted as a big baby face, but she's clearly dumb as fuck. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah. Go, yeah.
And Ving Rhames. That's it. And we get the heroic death from generic brunette dude.
Oh, yeah, generic wannabe Hollywood heartthrob.
Sacrificed himself.
Now, I said that the good thing about that is that he wasn't a douchebag who tried to hide the fact that he'd been bitten.
Insisted on getting on the boat and hiding it or whatever.
Which I quite liked, you know. That was like, all right, okay, at least you're not an asshole.
I think with a little more character development flashing out, as you said, he thinks his children are dead or something.
This is what I'm saying. It's very ambiguous. You don't know whether he thinks that they're dead, or he knows that they're dead, or that if he was involved in their death in some way.
Right, so maybe he's just accepted, even though he seems to have struck up a little romance with generic blonde woman. But obviously, does anyone buy that at all?
I mean, it was the most
really tacked on.
Yeah, there was no chemistry between them whatsoever.
He'd rather just kill himself.
Yeah.
Than try and attempt to be with her.
I mean, I'm glad that they didn't force it more, you know, with like a really over-the-top kiss in the sunset or the sunrise or whatever.
They kissed her hand and he was like,
yeah, but I mean, that's okay. I'm all right with it.
Different lifetime. We could have been surfing together.
Yeah.
You know, if things were different.
But yeah, there was no chemistry between them whatsoever. And I just didn't care about them.
I've never seen either of those in anything since.
She looks familiar. I think I've seen her in something else, but I might also be confusing her with the... I can't remember her name.
I thought she looked a bit like Katherine Heigl.
No?
You didn't see that?
No, Katherine Heigl is gorgeous.
Okay. I thought maybe a little bit.
No.
No, okay. Oh, maybe not.
No. Katherine Heigl is stunning. She reminds me of that I can't remember her name now. She was the one from Muriel's Wedding.
Don't know, I've never seen it.
Cannot remember her name at all now. She's been in loads of other stuff as well, but yeah, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I don't know if this is supposed to be a launching pad for these two actors. But, I mean, I couldn't tell you anything else that they're in.
No. I mean, she looks kind of familiar, but like I said, I don't know if it's because she looks like this other actress or not. Or if I have actually genuinely seen her in something else, I'm not sure. But, yeah, I just didn't care about these characters. I had no emotional attachment to any of them. Weren't rooting any of them on or anything like that. Kind of would have been better if they all died. But
apart from the dog.
Apart from Ving Rhames, that guy was badass.
Right.
So, the ambiguity of the ending, what do you make of that? They live? Did they die? What do you think? Do you remember the very ending?
I mean, they were attacked by zombies at the end, right? I imagine they were probably killed.
Do you think that's what they was going for, do you?
I mean, I'm guessing they're maybe going for some... What was that word?
Ambiguity.
Probably, but did I really care at that point? No. Not really.
Alright, okay. So anything else in general you want to say about this film?
Weird to say that this film could have done with more minutes in it, but this film could have done with more minutes in it.
I think it could have been longer.
I think they could have tacked on extra 20 minutes at the start to try and flesh these characters out a little.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And then it just kind of just ended. So, yeah, I don't know, it didn't feel like a long movie to me. Like, God, when's this going to be over? Like, I will say that for it. Like, at no point was like, oh, God, I can't wait for this to end. So it didn't feel long.
No, but it didn't feel rushed. Not rushed. It did feel rushed. It didn't feel like the time flew by watching it either, though. Like, I was very aware that, like, over an hour had gone.
I think it's pretty obvious, like, what this was going to be early on. And it never really subverted those expectations.
No, there weren't any crazy twists and turns or anything like that, was there? Do you like the whole aspect of not knowing where the zombie virus came from as well? A fan of that, or do you like knowing answers?
Well, I didn't mind that too much.
Yeah, I personally don't mind that. It doesn't bother me. I sometimes quite think a film is better sometimes with a bit of mystery like that. You don't know where it came from, you know. Not everything needs to be a weird government conspiracy, you know.
I mean, we did get one genuine star turn up. Well, I don't know, I think maybe I'm overselling it. But he was recognisable when he turned up. Phil Dunphy from Modern Family showed up halfway through the movie as a douchebag.
What do you make of Phil Dunphy having sex and making a sex tape?
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, you're not into that, no?
Considering that, you know, what his character is in Modern Family. Very awkward, typical dad character, isn't it? Yeah, so that's a bit of a different... I think he played it pretty well. Obviously, his introduction of his character was the whole premise for them getting away and surviving. But they didn't live to see it. I can't remember how he died at the end. You just get attacked by...
So they were in an accident, weren't they? Because the guy went round the corner too fast, and the old man with the chainsaw...
Oh, yeah, sawed through.
Accidentally sawed through that blonde girl. Blonde woman too.
Blonde sex woman.
Yeah, which then made Ving Rhames, who was driving, crash. I'm guessing maybe blood got in his eyes or something. And then... the old man and the woman who'd been sawed in half obviously died. And then you had Ving Rhames and Phil Dunphy in it. And Phil Dunphy just left.
Do you remember the actor's name?
I don't remember the character, no. I don't remember. This is what we were joking about while we were watching it, though. The characters' names, they were all... I mean, Catman, what was his name?
Don't know. Generic American-looking dude.
Man, yeah. Like, you know, what was the redhead girl's name? What was the creepy pervert's name? I don't even know what Ving Rhames' name was. I just know he's Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
And he had a cool killer tash. But yeah, no, that's the thing, is this is how unmemorable the characters were, that you don't even know their freaking names. It's rated as an 18. Would you agree with that?
I mean, there was gore in it. I guess you saw sex and tits, right? Very briefly. I mean, the chainsaw scene when they're sawing the zombies.
I would say that's probably the most gruesome scene in it.
They set fire to the zombies as well in the parking lot.
That really, I mean, I've seen that in comedy films.
Yeah, I think maybe 18 is stretching it.
It has a score of 7.3 stars out of 10. with a Metascore of 59 out of 100. So 7.3 stars.
59 out of 100 is a little bit more believable.
That's average. It's in the average range, isn't it?
Do you think this film is rated so highly because it's a nostalgia thing? People look back on this as remember this film?
I also think that it might have a bit of a Zack Snyder caveat to it as well. I think it's...
I mean, I couldn't give a damn who directed this film.
But there are people out there that, especially after what happened in his life and everything, that support him to the hilt these days now, isn't there? So I think that maybe it's kind of could be a combination of both of those things.
Or there's people that rated Dawn of the Dead from the 70s that high and were accidentally...
Yeah, perhaps. Could be. So I might take it you do not agree with those scores.
Absolutely not.
What would you give it out of 10 then?
Probably a 4.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad enough to get rated a 1, 2 or 3.
No, it's average, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's, like I said, it's consumable. Like, you can put it on and watch it and think, that was okay, I guess. But it's not really going to blow your socks off, is it? I'd agree with that. I think that's a pretty good rating to give. Yeah, I'd probably agree with 4.5 at the most, I'd say.
Despite its flaws, it didn't overstay its welcome. The casting could have been better for this film, definitely. I think Ving Rhames was fine. Dunphy was fine. Very hard to say. The rest are very disposable. And the casting could have been better. It's the fault of the casting or the fault of the script in particular. I don't know. Maybe they could have been more entertaining characters with a better script. Maybe.
Yeah, I just think it was very middle of the road. I think it was, I don't know, just it didn't really have anything in particular that jumped out to me that would have made it a better film on the bones that it's got already. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think, a different cast or a different script or anything like that makes it necessarily, it'll be a better punchy film. I think it needed a completely tonal shift, personally, in my opinion. But then we're talking about a completely different film. We're not talking about this film now. So, okay, so last question, Tom. Did this film scare you?
Oh, hell no.
Well, I would like to thank you, Tom, for joining me in watching this film. Neither of us found that film particularly scary, so the journey will continue. So join us again next time, where we will be discussing a new film. Haven't decided.
Is it actually a new film, though?
Well, it'll be a different film from this one, is what I mean. I haven't decided what one it's going to be yet. We're not going to be doing these in any particular order, so it could be anywhere up near the top. It could be beyond 50. It could be anywhere. There's no particular order to this. I think that there might be themes, going forward. Like, we're going to watch all of these films in this, like for instance, during the month of October, we will watch the Halloween films, that kind of thing. Maybe on a Friday the 13th, we'll watch a Friday the 13th, kind of like that kind of thing. But for the most part, we're just going to be shooting all over the board, really. So thank you for joining me, Tom. Thank you for joining me, audience. And sleep well.
You like this? Make sure you like, subscribe and check out another video on our channel. Witch Tea Entertainment.